Well, I was born in Port-au-Prince, Haiti, and at that time, um, the Duvalier family took over the government as a dictatorship, and um, the there was no future in that environment. And the whole system was based on fear. The government always tried to create fear into the population so they can control the population. Once the population is scared, they control. And the other thing they try to do is exile anybody that have an education or smart because they fear the educated person is gonna educate the population against them. So that's the way they base their control. Um, so my father and mother decided to have a future for their children. They had to leave that place because there was just no future there. So my dad started to make arrangement to get us out of there. It didn't have to be the United States. It could be just about anywhere. It just happened that my dad was working for the Department of Agriculture. My dad came to Michigan State in the 50s before I was born, and he had an agronomy degree. Then he went back to teach agronomy and also run the section of the agricultural department. At that time, the U.S. donated a lot of equipment, a lot of tractors and plow and stuff like that to help the poor farmers. They were what they were doing. They were tilling the land with horses and cows, and so they had a program. They'll till the land with the American tractors, and once the crop is sold, then they will pay a small amount to the government for the gasoline and stuff like that. So, but when Duvalier took over, some of the government people that came over took some of the equipment and used it as personal equipment. So when my dad would ask for the equipment back, and he was threatened, and those people just kept the equipment for themselves in their land or wherever. So that was the beginning of the end. So my dad went working for another company that was they were processing cotton. There's some cotton fields, and it's just a factory. So the person it was a different town, and that person, not the mayor, but the police department head was running the town pretty much. The mayor was just a figurehead. And what he did he go to my dad and want him to hire people that had no skills. It's just his relative, his friends, he just give him a job there, and they didn't come to work. They was just like getting a salary. And of course, my dad wasn't very happy about that. So the next thing that happened is a friend of my dad worked for the immigration department, and the government always put out a list of names of people they wanted to silence or exile. So my dad went to school with this gentleman. He called my dad and said, "We got to get you out of here because your name is on that list," which is very dangerous. So happened to have a program at Michigan State to process cotton seed, because what they were doing, they were taking the cotton and throwing the seeds away. They would get oil out of the cotton seed oil, and there was a program to do that. But my dad told the guy, "We can use the cotton seed, so he's going to go to Michigan State and learn how to process the cotton seed and come back." Of course, he had no intention of coming back because he knew how dangerous it is. And that's how he got out. So we got left behind. Me and my mother and my siblings. So it took a while for us to eventually get here, because one of the issues was I have the same name as my dad. Because my name was on that list, it was very hard to get the papers to get out of there. They didn't care if it was different age. The name was on the list. So it took us a while to couple of 2 or 3 years to actually get out of there. Then finally, at that time, they wanted my dad to come back to Haiti to get his papers, immigration papers, get out, which is a scam. And my dad says, there's no way. So we were actually ready to move to Europe, to France, because if we couldn't get papers in the United States, we'd go someplace else, not Haiti. And it took a long time to figure out. There was, I think at the time, my dad went to get help to talk to Senator Hart at the time. I don't know what year that was, Michigan senator. And he tried to intervene, and the American ambassador to Haiti told him to stay out of it because it's like a federal thing, not a state thing. So we believe, I have no proof, we believe the ambassador and the Haitian government were we're helping each other out, but we can't prove that. But we think that's what happened. So after multiple lawyers, et cetera, my dad figured out the way to do it. All you have to do is leave the United States, go to an embassy, get your papers, and come back. It doesn't have to be in Haiti. So he flew to the Caribbean, to Curacao, and back in those days, there was 2 planes coming in and out of there, and one in the morning to bring tourists, and one in the early evening to leave. So my dad went to the embassy, got his papers. As he was coming back to the airport, and the plane was leaving. So he ended up spending the night on the bench at the airport because, the plane was gone. So the next morning, he took the first plane out of there, which should take him to New York City. And from there, he came to Michigan again. So then there was just years of trying to get the rest of the family to come here. Well, in the meantime, in Haiti, the dictatorship was really taking hold, and people were getting murdered and maimed and killed, and periodically there was people tried to overthrow the government, so there'd be some rebellions. And whenever that happened, they would round up a bunch of people and they would disappear. And they will just, I think they would grab people from different neighborhoods and kill them to instill the fear. Those people might have been completely innocent, but you don't say, you don't try to say anything against the government. So there's a constant fear that somebody was going to get killed. And we have known people that have got killed for no reason at all, really. So we live in an environment. There was a lot of violence as far as for example, one year the Navy rebelled against the government, and they went in the ocean and tried to shell the National Palace, basically like the White House. Well, the equipment they had was from World War I that was donated by the U.S. So the accuracy was really, really bad. So they shelled for 2-3 days, I believe, because I was a kid. And of course, they barely ever hit the National Palace. So you can imagine all those bullets and all those big bombs were falling all over the city. So that's another, just, the fear, because the ocean was one side of our house, we had to sleep on the other side of the house in case something hits the house. So as a kid, the fear was just incredible. So then there was a time where there was somebody had a plane that was dropping bomb in the city, and I was at school taking an exam, and I remember climbing out of a window because everybody was trying to go for the door, and I was in the second story because everybody goes for the door is jammed down the hallway, and there's no way you can get out quick. So I climbed down the window and I start running. As I start running, and I could see the plane going by, I could see a guy hanging out of the door of the plane dropping the bombs. And I mean, as a kid, it was just awful. So I went down to tried to go to my grandma. And the school where the president's son was going, was attending, had, whenever he went to school, they had a couple of army soldiers that surrounded the school just for security. When we got down there to the school, but around that school, the soldiers were like, had their guns in the air trying to shoot this plane. They can hear something and they start shooting. And as I came around the corner, I saw all this shooting and the guns up in the air. And so I had to go another route to go to my grandma's house. And it was so scary. It was just, you hear a lot of machine gun all over the city, And of course the plane is dropping bombs, and it was just awful. Anti-aircraft fire, that kind of stuff. But the worst part is the fear, though. Not even in those times, but the fear that somebody gonna say something that. There was sometimes people would say something against their neighbor. They will go to the government and say, my neighbor said this against the government. And there's no investigation. The police will come over, arrest those people, and those people would just like go into the houses and pretty much, trash their house and steal all the stuff, So that was so you had to think about that too. And you never knew who was a spy in your neighborhood either. They had spies all over the place. When we finally made it here, that was like, I almost wanted to kiss the ground because, it was just amazing. Eventually, what helped us is my dad's friend that was in the immigration department. And somehow he figured out how to do the paperwork. And we had an interview with him. At the time, the U.S. government changed hands. I can remember who was president at the time. They changed the ambassador. The ambassador that was in Haiti and went to Japan. They had a new guy. We went for the interview at the embassy. And of course I was a kid, I don't remember, but my mom told me that there was a dossier on my dad, and they even knew what church he went to in Lansing, Michigan. They knew all his whereabouts in Lansing, so we don't know how that happened. So it's like we finally got the interview, we got our papers, and basically my dad had sent us money. We just bought a ticket. At the time it was Pan Am, and flew into Detroit. Well, Detroit is 1967. There was a race riots in Detroit. So we flew into the race riot in Detroit. But that was nothing compared to the fear we had there. So it didn't bother us at all. So there was a curfew, but of course the airport is outside the city, so we didn't get to see that. But it was interesting times that we left this craziness down there to come to the U.S. and find all these race issues, which we never were aware of. So that was another thing that we learned. So when we got to Lansing, it was just like first of all, we saw my dad. So that was just the best time in life for me. Because I remember when my dad left, I just lost it. I didn't want my dad to leave Haiti. I'll never forget that day he got on the plane. I saw him going up the stairs. And so when I saw him finally after 3 or 4 years, it was just, the feeling was just it was just overwhelming. So he bought a house on the south side on the Churchill Downs area in Lansing. And we grew up there. Junior high at Dwight Rich, and we ended up going to Harryhill High School. So, of course, there was a lot of problem in Harryhill, race problem in Harryhill High School. But compared to what was happening down there, we were able to manage that. So because the police were called to school all the time because there was always this fight. We pretty much stay out of that whole thing. We pretty much went to class, and just stay out of the whole system. We actually had a pretty good education there, So, so far, we pretty much succeeded because of the education we got. Going to Michigan State, my sisters went to U of M, so this country it's just fantastic. It just pains me to see what's going on now with the division in the government and the people. It's very painful. Dictatorship is just awful. So that's one of the things I wanted to say, because it's just so sad to see that people have it made here. They don't realize they have it made.
As a kid growing up in Lansing, you were involved in music. Played bands. You made friends.
Best friend. Played basketball.
Played basketball. Who'd you play basketball?
I played for Hale High School, and I used to have to guard Magic Johnson. That's my claim to fame. So it's been a wonderful life here. It's just, I don't take anything for granted. Every day, it's a blessing. I ended up getting to Lansing Community College and got a technical degree. Then I ended up working at the cyclotron lab at MSU, which is nuclear physics research. And I worked there for many years. They paid for school, so I ended up going to school there, but I didn't go for engineering, but I was doing engineering. I did international studies because I was very interested in the world, But really my skill was really mechanical. So we ended up building the cyclotron, the big, huge cyclotron. I ended up working on that. I was very proud of that. Then eventually, now they have FRIB, Facility for Rare Isotope Beam, and I ended up working on that too, doing some designs, mechanical designs for a lot of the equipment and magnets, etc. That was, so, and today now I'm working for a company that's making isotope for people getting cancer treatment. So coming to this country not only helped me, I'm so glad to be able to give back to everybody, to this country. And so it's a blessing. It's just every day I think about how, from where we came from and what we're doing now, and it's very lucky.